We're very lucky in the HMI Quartet to have 4 young musicians who are totally open to playing in different styles, number 1. Number 2, they're really nice people. And number 3, they're really committed to working with composers. And that can sometimes be a difficult situation. But because it involves trust, it involves trying to absorb another person's musical language. And sometimes that can be very, very different. And we could talk all day with words about how to do it. But in the final analysis, it's the chemistry that happens between the composer and the performers. And to see that happen firsthand is really, really exciting.
You need to play old music like new music, and then new music like old music. And that means that if you're playing a piece by Beethoven or Mozart, you want to play it like it's fresh and alive right now, like it's never been heard before. And when you are playing new music, you want to, caress that sound and treat it with the utmost care and reverence like you would with Beethoven and Mozart. And I don't think you completely understand that until you've had an experience like the HMI String Quartet and you're working with composers directly to see both sides of that.
We had works written by composers that we know and that we got to work with. And it's an amazing experience to work with someone when you can actually say, what did you mean by this when you wrote this on the page? Whereas the majority of what we do is educated guesswork in terms of, the classic composers that have been dead for some centuries.
Well, when you're playing traditional repertoire, there's always traditions that you can either choose to observe or not observe. But with new music, you're sort of blazing the path.
It's not always that we have the chance to be really close to the performers and bringing ideas and going to rehearsals and listening to them and having their opinions about the piece, and then recording those rehearsals and going home and listening back and revising. I mean, that's kind of an ideal environment for a composer, and it's not very usual, it's not very common.
Feels like it's a real strong collaborative process, and I've really, really enjoyed that so much.
You have to extend your sensibilities in terms of your approach. Classical playing can be really good for training because we're always trying to get a crystal clear sound and have it be perfectly in tune with, great vibrato and everything. But when you're playing these other kinds of styles, it's nice to be able to expand past that.
It's been interesting to have them write different types of special techniques for us that not a lot of composers actually have the courage to write. So it was interesting to see people actually having the courage to do that. So.
We were also given the opportunity to play in the style of other instruments on our violins, viola, and cello. For example, we often imitate, indigenous instruments, or we use our bows or our fists on the wood of our violin to make percussive sounds.
When Beethoven was working with these quartets, these string quartet players, when he was writing this music for them, there was that collaborative process still happening, to a certain extent, and the performers could talk to Beethoven like, we take a marking so seriously in classical music, because that's all, we have to hang on to that because there's not as much for us to gravitate towards. If we're working with somebody right now in the HMI quartet, we can ask them like, what do you mean by this marking? Do you want to take it really seriously in this way or that way? But you get that background and you find out in the end they just want you to speak the musical language. And